Okay, welcome to the Money Action Plan today. I am so excited to have you ladies on the call right now. We're going to cover a lot. I hope it doesn't feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. I will try to make it very relatable to you what you're going through. And there's my daughter trying to get in the room. But we are going to take it piece by piece. I'm going to give you time to reflect on the things that we talk about, to write things out so that you feel like you walk away with some tangibles. First, we're going to go through the money game, right? The game of money. We're going to go through the money personalities. Then we're going to break it down into what are going to be your key pieces that you'll start implementing, hopefully today. Not today, tomorrow, get you going forward. And then what's going to happen after this. Everyone gets a one-on-one call with me after this so that you can ask me questions. You can pick my brain or even just share things that you found out today. And also figure out what's next. Oh, there's Allie. All right, we'll let her get on. I know you can hear her. Hi, Allie, how are you? Hold on one second. Let me take care of this. Oh, okay, we're good. All right. Hi, Allie Blair. We're just going over the agenda. We're going to go. Hi, there you are.
I'm here.
All right. No problem. My daughter just had a tantrum outside the door. All right. So we're going to talk about the game of money, our money personalities. Does everybody have their scores? Some of you sent them to me ahead of time. Awesome. We're going to go over next steps, kind of a recap, what are going to be the pieces that you'll start implementing right away, as well as what happens after this call. So after this, we do have one-on-one time together. We'll do about 15, 20 minutes to see how things that you want to start doing, if you have questions, maybe your spouse has questions, or things that we might not have covered as in depth as you wanted to. All right. So let's get started. So you are here to learn the game of money. And I love this notion sometimes, and it might not be our fault. It could be different influences we've had in our lives. But people saying, it's hard to earn money. You have to work really hard. You have to work nonstop to have a lot of wealth. And it doesn't have to be that way. I'll give you an example. So I go and guest speak at Rutgers University every semester to their personal finance department. And their professor there, she has the same idea or theology around money that it's a game. And she told me she's part of the FIRE movement, Financial Independence, Retire Early. I actually have a call with her in a few weeks with one of my clients who wants to do the same thing. She retired in I think she was 28, 29 when she retired. Now she's still working, right? She's still a professor. Her husband still works, but she was able to play the game of money right and position herself to be in a place where she no longer really has to work for that paycheck, because her money is doing its job and earning its own paycheck that would fund her life. And that really is the goal in our Money Empire program, is the same thing, to get you to a place where your money is earning enough money that you're not so attached to your paycheck. Or like, I know Kimberly, you're a business owner. You're not so attached to the things that you put out there. You're not so attached to getting new leads. You're not so attached to how is this going to come across? Is this going to generate revenue for me? If you have your money earning its own income, you're not so attached to your paycheck or your business sales or that retirement date too, for Kathy, who's closer to retirement. Money personalities, we're all wired a different way. And that's one of the problems when you look at like Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman, those big, big names. They're preaching you one strategy. And one strategy isn't going to work for everybody. We all have a different mindset around money, a different personality. And that's what we're going to go into. So it's more about finding not the one go-to strategy, it's finding out which strategies are going to work for you over the long haul. It's almost like dieting. Everyone has a different way of dieting And sure, you could do any diet for 30 days and it might work for 30 days, but you come back to it 6 months, a year later, and it's not going to work. I had a health and fitness coach on our club call last night, our strong retirement call last night, and she lost 80 pounds about 6 years ago. 6 years ago, she lost 80 pounds. And before that, she did lose weight, but she yo-yoed and she was on that roller coaster. And she basically said, if I lost 25 pounds, I would gain 40 pounds later. It wasn't the right system. It's the same thing with our money. So finding new money systems to better work for your personality and really walk away with tools that are going to grow your money, save your money, and hopefully pay yourself more too. Okay? Sound good?
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm here because I want to help. I actually want to help. These are just some of the places that I've spoken at or been featured in. And it's really just to get the message out that it's not your fault if you're not at your goals. Sometimes we think it's my fault I'm not achieving these things. It's my fault it's not coming across the right way. It's not your fault. It's the plan. It's the systems that you're trying to use. And it's almost like you're just beating against yourself nonstop. So that's what I wanted to emphasize today is no matter what personality you are, it's okay. Not one of them is the right one to be, and you're not trying to fix yourself to be the right one. It's okay no matter what personality you are, and I'll share you which ones I am too. It's again, finding the right ways to do it. So there's nothing wrong with you. It's more the systems that we've been taught. And maybe those systems worked for somebody else who taught them to us, but they're not going to work for you because you're different. And then this is just, I think all of you know me. I know about our communities and stuff, but here's just our books, my blog, Not Your Father's Advisor. Pink Fix Production does all of our events and our books, and then our Strong Retirement Club, and now our Money Empire program, which is our newest baby. Okay. So I want to begin with talking about the 3 ways we invest. We can invest time, money, and people. I want you all to take a moment, 30 seconds or so, and reflect on where have you been investing most right now. And I'll give you an example. If you're starting a business, like you can really, you might be investing a lot in time. You might be putting a lot of time into your work. Women in general, we're so social. We tend to invest in a lot in relationships and people. If you think about how much time you spend on the phone with your mom, your friends, your spouse, how much of and Kathy, we've spoke about this, having to take care of siblings or parents as they get older or after surgery, how much of your time are you putting into people too? So I'll give you guys a little bit of time to think about where have you been investing most. Does anybody want to share?
This is Kathy. I would say people, I agree. You know, taking care of family members and even with work, in a way, you know, that's investing in people too, you know. Mm-hmm. Besides, you know, you go to work to earn, but it's still, a lot of that is outward focused instead of focusing on yourself.
That's true. And I think that's a big difference, not to put men under the bus or anything, but between men and women, we're always looking at how are we going to help everybody else around us at the workplace? How am I going to help my boss? Whereas they're more, how am I going to get myself to that promotion and stuff? But we are very focused and conscientious about those around us and how we're making people feel, how we're making them feel valued, making them feel appreciated, and making sure that we're not coming across as, if you need to get something done, you don't want to come across as being, sorry for my language, but a bitch. You want to come across as we're kind of tiptoeing, making sure that we're not stepping on anyone's toes, walking on eggshells and stuff. So people, I think a lot of women who join our community feel the same way. Right. Anybody else? You could just raise your hands if you put a lot into people. People. What about time?
For me, time is my biggest, and then people, and then tiny is money. If I'm really honest.
Is money kind of at the bottom for a lot of you? Would you say?
Until lately, yes.
Yeah. So now you're investing in yourself, Kathy, right? You're working in Kathy's in our Sun Retirement Club. Okay, good. And it's also good, this is almost a good check-in with ourselves to see, is this working for me? Where I'm putting most of my attention. Is this paying off for me or not? And it's kind of a good thing to do, check in with yourself every so often, every few weeks. Is this where I need to be putting my attention and focus? Or do I need to switch it or reprioritize? I mean, obviously, if you're coming up to, I know, Al, you guys want to buy a house, so maybe the money is going to start to come to the front. Or Kathy, like you want to retire soon, so that's going to become more prevalent. And then maybe in retirement, you're switching to more people and time because you have more time and you want to be more social, since you don't have the day-to-day social aspect from the workforce. So it is always going to change and mature with us. So the disconnect, I find this fascinating and also horrible. Women spend 80% of the world's wealth, but we only make 10% of it. There's a huge disconnect there, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is why I'm so passionate, why we need to get better at the game of money. We need to bring that 80 and 10%, we need to bring that more level so that we feel we have more confidence to speak up for ourselves, to speak up for whether it's work or your business, however it is, give us more security and more control over the direction our whole world is going in the end. Okay. So the money game. And I think a big piece of it is that money really isn't brought up much when we're growing up. It's not brought up much among our parents, especially with our moms, right? Because they were told growing up not to talk about money. It's such a faux pas. And usually what's typical is the husband would manage the overall finances and the mother, the wife, would do the day-to-day budgeting. I don't know if that's how it was when you were growing up, but that was pretty typical back in the day. Okay. Now the money game is this. I was listening to a podcast almost a year ago, and it was two business CEOs, extremely intelligent when it comes to money, running a business. And the one brought up this point, and it has stuck with me to my core to this day, over a year later, is society has trained us to chase status when it comes for money, right? The bigger house, right? You think of the shows you watch. They have the nice house, the nice cars, HGTV, the redone kitchen every few years, right? The wardrobe, the vacations, and it's status. The problem with status is, well, are we ever going to really win that game? No, there's always going to be somebody with a nicer car, a bigger house, private jets, whatever it is. The wealth game is different. So status is kind of pinning us against each other, right? Marketing, commercials, they love to do this because it gives us incentives to buy, wanting to buy a certain brand because we're going to have this status if we buy that brand. The wealth game says this: if all of you ladies start to earn more money, I'll start to earn more money, and then I can help other women earn more money, and those women earning more money are going to help you women earn more money. Basically, if everybody earns more money, it elevates our entire world, our entire society. So let's talk about, you're about to buy your dream house, and your best friend just bought a house and it's a little nicer than the house that you're buying, and you get jealous, and you almost are thinking, well, that's one less nice of a house out there for me. Or your friend gets a raise of $10,000, and in your mind you're thinking, oh, that stinks, you know, I deserve it, I've worked so hard, that's $10,000 less out there for me. Instead, if you look at it the wealth side, my best friend just buys this gorgeous house. Wow, if she can do it, that means I can do it too. If she gets $10,000 raise, that's amazing. That means I get a $10,000 raise. Or even with the women in our programs, you see one woman, all of a sudden she saves an extra $20,000 that year. Like, wow, I wish I did that. Instead of looking at it, well, if I'm in the same program she's in, and she's implementing the same things that Jess is telling her to implement, that means I just need to implement it and I'll get the extra $20,000. It doesn't mean there's less out there for you. It should incentivize you because, wow, if they can do it, I can do it too. And it brings all of us up together. Okay. Does that make sense for everybody? So it's really the scarcity mindset at its core versus abundance mindset. Now, a big eye-opening thing is to think about your first memory of money. Because it's amazing how much, even we can't even remember it right off the bat. It took me probably a year until it occurred to me what my first memory was. It really does kind of dictate which direction you go with your money. And I'll give you an example. My first memory of money, and some of you might have heard this, but I kept a little tin in my closet and I would keep all my money in it. And I would love to run into my room. I would lock my door so nobody could see how much money I had. I would sit on my carpet, open up my tin, and take out the few dollars that I'd have. And I had that tin for probably 15 years. All the way up until college, I would keep that tin. And I would just keep any extra cash I had in it. And I was in awe of the money, the power of money. It felt so cool to have my own money, not just my parents, but my own money. What am I going to do with all this money? I always counted and counted and counted. And my parents must have known how much I loved money and how much it fascinated me, because they would always use it against me. Whenever I would get upset and have a tantrum, I would run in my room and lock my door. And they would come and they would bang on the door and say, if you don't open this door right now, we're taking away all your money. And that's the first fear of money that got instilled in me. The fear of money being taken away. And how quickly money can get taken away from people. Right? We're seeing it play out right now. People losing their jobs, their homes, their businesses. That fear is real to them right now. And whenever you have a fear with money and you get put under stress like we are today, those fears are going to get so much worse, right? They're going to get amplified. They really are going to start to play out almost like your worst nightmare happening. So the more we can get to the core of these fears with money, the less they're going to kind of sabotage us down the road when we have times of stress. Okay. And I'll give you two views of my fear of money being taken away. One money personality could view that fear and say, well, I'm always going to spend my money so that I never have money that can be taken from me. I'm going to spend it before it's taken. Another money personality could view it as, I'm going to hoard and stash as much money as I can so that if it is taken away, I'll have another backup bucket. I'll have more and more hoarded all over the place like squirrels in the winter. So think about, what is your first memory of money? Did anybody think of one? It could be like the tooth fairy. Go ahead, Kimberly. Just unmute yourself. Here we go.
Mine was my parents fighting. So my dad left when I was like 2, and so I don't really remember remember it, but all I can really remember is I just remember them screaming and shouting, and it was my dad going, how could you spend so much money? Like, how could you spend so much? Like, we needed that. And yeah, just being really angry at my mum, but I don't even know what it was that she spent the money on. But it really sticks out in my mind because he was just so annoyed that she'd spent all this money on something.
So have you ever viewed money as a topic of conflict or
Yes.
anger, resentment. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, you don't have to answer that loud if you don't want to, but do you ever not bring up money topics around your spouse?
We used to have a really massive problem with money.
Okay.
It took some time for us to actually, I mean, we've been together 7 years, and I think it took a good couple of years for us actually to have an honest conversation about money. So yes, used to massively avoid it, wouldn't even bring it up so that we wouldn't fight. So yeah.
I hear you. I hear. Well, thank you for sharing that. Being very open and vulnerable with it. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You know, the first memory of money, and is it shaping why I'm behaving a certain way with money? Too. The other thing when it comes to the money game is identifying where does your focus tend to fall, right? Is it building status? Is it building credibility? Is it building wealth? Okay. Where is it falling all the time? With status, as I said, you never win. But with wealth, and I'm not just talking about savings. I'm talking about beyond savings, building real wealth that is not just to buy a house down the road, buy a new car. It's to have money because it's security. And it allows you the freedom to do what you want to do with your life and not being stuck to a job. I said, where do you spend most of your time and money? Is it material items? I was guilty of this when I first got my job. Like, oh, I have money to spend. Where am I going to spend it all, right? I was living at home still. I didn't have a lot of expenses, so I just spent on pretty things. Do you spend time and money on your future? Are you very future focused, or are you more present focused? Are you looking to build assets? Or are you looking to build a business? So think of it, where are you spending your time and money now? And where do you want to focus? Okay, maybe it was material items like it was for me, but then it switched more towards the future, assets, building a real business. So where do you want it to go to? Because we've got to see where we're driving to as we dive into the personalities and stuff. Okay. Before we do this, I want to spend 1 minute and I want you to write down your top 3 money goals. Okay, your top 3 money goals. Okay, take 1 minute. It could be business related, retirement related. Your top 3 goals. And then I want you to write down, what is your current income? And what would you want your income to be in 12 months in an ideal world? What would be your dream income? Because when we go through the personalities, we're going to do some money math to see what you'll need to do to get there. So writing it down now will be very helpful as we go through the exercises. And then Kimberly, since you have a business and you're in sales, what is your current sale worth? I know we went through this on our call together, but write it down. What's your current sale and what would be your target? Like what would ideally you want that to sell for? Was it selling for now? What would you like it to sell for consistently that you could feel good about?
Would that be like an average, or because obviously like I've got 3 different services?
I would take the one that you sell the most of. Do that one, yeah. Does anybody want to share one of their goals? Wilva?
One of my goals that I'm currently working on is like building a safety net. I'm definitely a money hoarder. Saving money makes me feel very secure, and like if anything happens, it's okay. Like everything's gonna be all right. So that's one of like my primary goal right now is just building a safety net so that I can actually like move on to doing other things with money.
Okay, good. Safety net is key. And I kind of joke about it now, but in a serious way is right. Times like these are exactly why we talk about an emergency fund. I have clients and they're feeling guilty taking money from their emergency fund. That's what it's there for. That's how we planned it. And we also have a plan to replenish it when you are working again. So as it's fine taking the money as long as you know how are you going to make up for that money down the road. But that's exactly why we have these things. So you're not, things like this happen and you're not scared to death of how am I going to put a roof over my head. And even in retirement, having that extra bucket so that if something does happen with your house, your car, furnace, whatever, we have money that you can go to and you don't have to worry about paying more in taxes or selling if the markets are down or being so dependent on those factors for it. Anybody else have a goal they want to share before we dive in?
I guess I can share one. I don't know if they're specific enough, but one is just having enough money so it gives me and my family and future family options. And the other one is the freedom to having enough money to have the freedom to pursue career goals, which I feel like I kind of am on the cusp of being at that moment. So I had this in my mind of, oh, I need to get to here so that way I can do what I want to do. And now it's like, well, am I really there or not? So yeah, so it's an interesting time.
Okay. So when it comes to options for your family, what does that look like for you? What does that mean? Does I have a better understanding?
Yeah, I think for the family one, it's kind of a lot of things. That's why I'm saying I don't know if it's specific enough, but I think it's so, my husband can pursue what he wants to without feeling like, he has to take care of me, or we don't have children at the moment, but future children. And then for any like future kids that, they just have options without needing to be restricted by financial situations.
Okay. Maybe if your husband hates his job, he doesn't have to stay there because of the money
Yeah.
to leave. Or if you want your kids to go to a certain school, the funds are there.
Yeah.
You don't have to stress over it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always the goal is having, and we'll talk about this, is having that bucket. So one of my clients calls it her reinvention bucket. So she drips into this one bucket so that in 5-10 years, because she knows she doesn't want to stay at her job, she can then take that money, invest it into a business, into education, whatever she needs, a business coach to make that happen. And stuff. So I get what you're saying. Having the freedom to be able to work where you want to work and not be tied to the money anymore.
Yep.
Right. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So let's go into money type 1. And I use somebody in the mall. Money type 1 is spendthrift Sally. So Wilda, have you heard of these before? Because I know Lisa uses these too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll probably have different approaches to them, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So Spencer Sally, and I was a Sally. That was my second money type when I first took this test a few years ago. And what's interesting is you can change personalities when your priorities start to shift too. Especially after, I see it a lot when women start to really get invested in themselves and more intentional with their money, they're less likely to just throw it out the window on stupid stuff in most areas of their life. So Spencer Sally is very impulsive with their money. I see it, I love it, I'm gonna buy it. Right, Kimberly, you and I were saying with the glittery stuff, this is my husband always says, I can't go to the mall with you because you see one thing that's pink or sparkly or glittery and I lose you with it. Right? Very impulsive. They don't really think of the consequences of spending this $50, $100 on something, right? I'm not going to worry about the future. I'm present in the moment. I hear a lot of people, I'm being present. That's what everyone's telling me to do. I'm being present and I'm going to spend my money now. I'll give you an example. So I know this one woman and she lost her fiance and her father within a few months of each other. Okay. And her view on money, I've had discussions with her, is I'm going to spend it because I don't know if tomorrow's going to come. But she's gotten her and her family into such a hole with their money that it is going to blow up on them at any point, right? Any little bit of pressure, like pressure that we're feeling today, can cause the whole thing to explode on her. So why it is a great mentality is let's live for today. We have to live for today, but we got to also make sure tomorrow's taken care of. A lot of times there's, right, we use a rationale, right? I always say I'm very persuasive with myself. I can tell myself I'm not going to drink wine all week. Then Tuesday comes, I deserve this glass of wine. I deserve these nice shoes. We can be very persuasive, and there's usually a trigger too, a triggering event. So understanding what are our triggers when we spend money. Okay. So for me, when I was a Spendthrift Sally, I would be very frustrated at work because I was trying to do it how the industry wanted me to do it, right? I was trying to live out their expectations of me instead of finding a way to love my job on my terms. So I was very frustrated after work every day and I was exhausted. I was almost like beating against myself and putting a lot of pressure on me to find a way to love what I do. So on the way home, there's the mall and I would get off on the exit, go to the mall, and do you think I was thinking very rationally at those times in my life? I would see a nice pretty dress, nice shoes. This will make me love work. If I love what I wear, I'll love work. It doesn't work like that. So I would spend money. But my trigger was being frustrated and exhausted, telling myself I deserve this, right? And usually there's one thing in our life that we are very willing to spend money on. You could be cheap in every other aspect of your life, but maybe there's one thing that you love spending money on. It could be a Starbucks coffee. You're fine spending money on Starbucks coffee every day. It could be vacation, maybe your house or your business. There's something that you love spending money on. And what are the triggers that get you to spend the money when you don't really want to? It's just this instant gratification that we've been so ingrained with our society on, right? Nowadays, you go on a store online, you look at something, you put in your shopping cart, and then you leave to do something else. And you'll get a call, a text, an email saying, this is still in your shopping cart. Make sure you buy me. That's how our society has been getting us to give into this instant gratification nonstop. So for Spendthrift Sallies, it's really identifying you're impulsive with, is it your beliefs? Is it your behaviors? Is it both? How are you justifying it? Is it, oh, I'll just work more hours to make up for it. I'll work overtime. I'll sell more. I deserve this. I have a client and she went through a really crappy divorce. And she didn't want the divorce. She was completely blindsided by it. And I met with her about a year after the divorce. And she got herself into a lot of credit card debt because in her mind, she kept saying to herself, I deserve to go on this trip after what I went through. I deserve to do this. I deserve the nice car. So by the time I got to her, she was about $30,000 in debt. And she went through a program similar to our Money Empire program. And as we were going through it, she was realizing all these triggers. It was whenever she got a call from her attorney, whenever she heard something from her kids about her ex-husband's new wife. Those were these triggers that he's an a-hole, I deserve this, I'm going to go and do something else. She wasn't hurting him. She was just hurting her future to the point where she's crying over how she's going to pay her bills. And we had to give her some boundaries on her spending. So she had a spending account that we would slowly drip into from each paycheck. And that was the money she could spend freely when times she felt like indulging a little bit. But if she wasn't able to spend more than that and throw the whole plan out the window. Right? So it's balancing out the spending and the saving, giving ourselves a lot of boundaries. Like I have money, I keep very little money in my checking account because if it's there, I'll spend it. I need a physical boundary between me and my other money, whether it's just an overflow bank account that I can then move money into, but I need it separate. A lot of times, I know, Kimberly, you were your second one was tied with one, right, for it. A lot of times too with type 1 is you flip-flop. I deserve this, I shouldn't spend the money. I deserve this, I shouldn't spend the money. Has anybody been in that situation? It's exhausting. You handle the...
Yeah, I think for me, and like, I guess Lisa and I, although like I score the lowest on this type, I do think it's still my second money type because I'll flip flop from type 2, type 1, type 2, type 1, and then the other two is just, I don't really I just think it's, I'll like hoard money, and then like experience lack and restricting myself, kind of like a diet, like we talked about, like doing. And then I'm like, oh my God, I've been like saving so much, I haven't done anything, like I deserve to spend money, and like this month I shouldn't save because I've been saving every single month, I should just like go and enjoy my money. And then like it's just like this cycle.
Yeah, and then you're back to square one. All right, now I gotta save again.
I gotta save again.
To move back, yeah, it is a roller coaster. I sometimes say I'm like bipolar with my money types because like you said, I'll do so well to save and then I want to spend. So it's not balancing, but it's steadying those the times when you spend, especially impulsively. So when you know your triggers, and I have these 4 questions that I have some women actually write and they keep it in their wallet or by their computer if they're online shoppers. So the 4 questions are, do I need this item? Simple. Did I need it yesterday? Here's an example. Our washing machine broke yesterday. Exactly. So we need a washing machine. We have 2 young kids. We need a washing machine. Will this get me closer or farther from my goals? What else can I be doing with this money? The biggest thing with Spendthrift Sally is you want to put a pause in your thinking before you react, right? And you can create new pathways when you can start putting pauses. It's called a superposition state in your mind. And the more you can pause yourself, think it through before it just subconsciously acting out, you'll start to recreate new pathways. So at first, it's a new behavior, but after, I know people say 21 days to create a new habit, it's actually 63 days. After a few months, it will now become a habit and a way of life for you. And that's why a lot of the women say, I have Jess in my mind whenever I'm out shopping. Because it pauses you, and that's all you need is that pause to think it through before just acting out like we always have in the past. So Dr. Caroline Leaf, she's a neurologist. She's actually reducing the effects of Alzheimer's. She's an amazing woman. And she's the one, I was reading her book, she was talking to the superposition, saying, yes, this is what we need with our money. We need that pause, and then we can start to redirect these new pathways that are going to work better for us. Another thing that works great with money type 1 is my stable money saver. So this is where we create different buckets.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry, so I don't know whether you'll cover this like in a later one, but you said the question, do you need this? I'm really good at convincing myself when it comes to the business that I need this. Like, even if I don't, like, even if it's not really something that is going to move the needle, like, is the most important thing, I am very, very good at convincing myself, yes, I need this. This is really important, and this is the thing. So do you have any advice on making that more rational decision rather than just being like, yes, of course I need this?
That's a great question. And there is a follow-up question that you can ask yourself, or not a question, it's a statement. I'll buy it tomorrow. And you see how many tomorrows you can fit in before you actually buy it. And I can guarantee you, if you wait 10 tomorrows, 20 tomorrows, all of a sudden be like, something new will come into your world that you'll be playing the I'll buy it tomorrow thing. So that is one good exercise to do, is you push it off until tomorrow. And the more time you have to think about it, the better. Now, some things, and we'll go through this with the next money type, there's some things you should just go ahead and buy. If you trust in your gut, right? I do this with all of our programs. I give you 24 hours to think about it, to get, an incentive to get you to act quicker, because in your gut, you know if you should do something or not, right? If you believe it or not, then you have time to think about it. You do the pillow test, and like the washing machines. I mean, we weren't in a luxury time to be able to research every washing machine possible, but I know people who will spend 3-4 weekends going to every store to look for a washing machine. We needed it. We needed it yesterday when it broke. So we went ahead and bought something. So there's times when it is good to go ahead and act right away. But again, it's finding the times and understanding, okay, is this something, how is this going to affect me? How is this going to help me move forward, right? Again, will this get me closer or farther from my goals? That's another one to kind of weigh. Okay, is this as a distraction that's going to take me away from my business, but it sounds really pretty, like I need it? Or is this actually going to move me forward? Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Another great one is to, like I said, our stable money saver is setting up buckets. So I had you guys write down your top 3 goals. You could almost create a saving bucket for each one of those goals. And every time you get paid, you put $1 into each bucket. So that when something does come up that you really want to do or need to do, the money's already there for that goal. Okay. And a lot of women, they join me because they're like, that sounds really good. How do I go about doing that? How do I figure out how much money do I put into each one? And you want to start out, right? My first tip is always start out slow. The last thing you want to do is put all your cash flow into these buckets and you don't have money for your bills. You take all the money back out of the buckets and now you're back to square one and you give up, right? It's like this diet isn't working. I lost 20 pounds. I gained 30 pounds back. It's not working. I'm done. That's not what I want to happen. I want it to be a process that we keep building on. So you can set up different buckets, different savings account, investment accounts. That's the things we go into in our programs. And understanding how much we're going to put in. Start slow, understanding what is the goal for this money, the time frame for this money, how quickly do I want this goal to happen, and that's going to dictate what we do with that money. Okay. Money type 2 is cheap chip or frugal Frank. So my one friend goes, I'm not cheap chip, you can call me frugal Frank. And this is they're a great example. My good friend, Cheap Trip, married Spendthrift Sally. He loves, loves, loves to spend money. So they're constantly butting heads because they can't come to agreements with things. And when we can't come to agreements with things with our spouse, it gets put on pause. And similar to Kimberly, was it you who talked about your parents arguing over money?
Yeah.
That's what happens. Exactly what happens. They just didn't understand each other. They were speaking two different languages and they couldn't relate, and they were just getting more and more frustrated. And that could cause one of them to act out and spend more money, the other one to save more money, and it just causes more and more of a rift between them and resentment. So Cheap Chip hates to spend money, loves to hoard it. Spending money can be physically ill to them. Kathy, you said you're a Cheap Chip.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised because I have to say I have tendencies sometimes to spend, like you said, and probably more when I was younger than I am now.
Sure.
And now that I'm getting near retirement, I'm becoming, maybe I'm becoming the cheap, But I have to say, if I have to make any big purchases, it can keep me up at night, So, but I don't, maybe if I'm I don't consider myself hoarding my money now. It's trying to get there as fast as I can, that I'll be at ease in retirement.
Yes. Cheap Chip, it is a lot about security. So you might not do the behaviors, but you might have the beliefs that I need a lot of money to feel secure.
Yeah.
That could be it. It really is and usually what stems all of the personalities is some sort of fear, right? Like type 1, for Spencer Sally, a fear could be not coming across as confident or not coming across with the right status, right? I have one woman that she go very, very, very poor. So now she's constantly chasing that status to look a certain way, right? She has that insecurity, that fear. Same thing with Cheap Chip. You might have been in a situation or witnessed people who ran out of money and you don't want that for yourselves, or because you've never experienced it, it could be a huge fear.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had money. What does it look like to not have money? I don't want to know what that looks like. That could be a huge fear for people too. Now, just like Spencer Sally, everyone has something that they like to spend money on or are okay spending money on, or maybe it's a dollar amount. If it's under $10, I'm fine spending money on coffees every day of the week, a few times a day. Same thing with Cheap Chip. Usually there's something you hate to spend money on. Right? For me, it's technology, which is silly because I use technology for work so much. But I don't really value it that much, which sounds insane because it's how I can't do my work unless I have technology. It could be clothing for some people. It could be cars. Right? My best friend, she's a financial advisor, makes a lot of good money. She won't spend more than $20,000 on a car. That's just a deep-rooted thing in her. That's a belief. So it's understanding too, where is it coming from? Have you witnessed somebody lose money? Or I remember one woman at one of our retirement roundtables said she was out to lunch with a bunch of girlfriends. She took the train into the city to meet them for lunch. She gets there at the end of the lunch. She went to pay. She lost her wallet. And all of a sudden, she almost wanted to start crying. She was shaking. She's thinking, how am I going to pay for lunch? Even though she's with friends, they'll take care of her, but you never want to do that to other people. How am I going to get back home? Right? This was years ago before we had Uber and Lyft where you could just pay virtually. How am I going to get back home? And where's my wallet? Did somebody find it? Does somebody have my credit card, my bank cards? She's going all through these things. So now she's terrified, right? She's terrified to not have money. She's always looking to see where her wallet is and making sure she has backup money because of something that happened to her that was very emotional too. So where does it come from? Does it come from childhood and your father telling you, we don't have enough money for you to do dance class. We don't have enough money for you to do that basketball camp or to go to college. So now you have a fear. I need to make sure I have money for my kids' college, or I need to have enough money for the luxury things, or I'll never have enough money for the luxury things. And what has to happen for you to feel secure to spend money? What has to happen? What I do whenever somebody who's Cheap Chip comes into my world is actually exactly what we do for Spencer or Sally, but for different reasons. We have a 1-year bucket of money that we put money into each paycheck. And then at the end of the year, they have to spend it on something that they get to enjoy. It could be their house, a trip, money towards a new car. But it gives Cheap Chip, it's kind of like, well, you've already saved for it, you've already spent it. We're not counting on this money with your overall plan. So it helps them feel secure. Spending this money isn't going to affect my retirement date down the road or my buying a house. I've already saved for it. And for Spencer of Sally, it gives her an incentive to not spend every penny. Because a year is close enough time horizon that you can look forward to it. If we were to say 3-5 years, that'd be way too far for Spencer of Sally, and she'll fall off the wagon very quickly. But you can make it to a year, especially if you really want this thing and you're working towards it. You know, we keep it top of mind. Okay, so having kind of a fun account that you put a percentage of your pay into each time. I don't say put 20% in or 30%. Start small with a few percent, and we kind of work with it to see, you know, how is this working? Do we need to adjust it every few months? Another thing for people, and this is good for all the women who are working and wanting, like you said, Allie, getting your career to a certain level, Kimberly, getting your sales to a certain level, is write down a number. And I want everyone right now to take a minute and write down, what is 1 hour of your time worth to you? Right now, what is 1 hour of your time worth to you? This is a very hard question. And I can guarantee all of your numbers are going to be way too low, but because we usually undervalue ourselves a lot. And it's not how much you get paid now for 1 hour of your work, but really, what are you worth based on all your expertise, all your experience, everything. And I want you to keep this dollar, this value in mind whenever somebody asks you to do something that you don't want to do, whenever you are doing something at work that you can outsource to somebody who's going to do it a lot cheaper. Okay. Whenever you are looking at your current job or new job opportunity, or even Kathy, for you towards retirement, you know, am I getting paid my worth? And the closer you get to the time when you're ready to retire, the more your priorities will shift to, I'm valuing my time more than the paycheck, the money anymore. And so, does everybody have their dollar amount down? Okay, good. We're going to come back to it. So make sure it's clear in your notes, circle it or something. Okay. Type 3, and this is my first money type, is overgenerous Olivia. Okay. Overgenerous Olivia. So Kimberly, you and your husband are both type 3s, which is good. So overgenerous Olivia obviously loves to give. Give, 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 give. I'll give my money to everybody. I have one client, and she was in our program, and I call her Aunt Dee Dee. Aunt Dee Dee had this money belief that because she earned more than everybody else in her family, it was her obligation to give whenever somebody needed money. Needed, wanted, who knows, wanted money. And what happened was she was spending $20,000, $30,000 a year on her family, and she had no idea. But after we started tracking her money, she started to see this bleeding hole in her budget and why she couldn't hit any of her goals. And I said to her, what happens if Aunt Dee Dee runs out of money? Because she was close to retirement. And that could happen. If you don't have a paycheck coming in anymore, you're set on a limited amount of funds. If they're chipping away at that in huge chunks as they were, she was going to run out of money and then they would all be screwed. So we started to separate her money, like I always talk about the buckets, and one bucket was Aunt Dee Dee money, so that if they did need money, she could take it from there, but it wouldn't sabotage the rest of her plan. So again, it's almost like if you give all the shirts off your back, there's nothing else to clothe you. The more that you can take care of you and your money, and Wills, I know we've had this conversation too, right? The more we can take care of you and your money, the more money you will have in the end to be generous with. Because in the end, we want to help people. The more we can help all those around us. Now, another thing is understanding, how are you generous? Going back to the ways we invest, are you generous with your time, your money, or your relationships, the people? Do you give a lot to the people in your life? So I am an overgenerous Olivia, and when I started shifting my work towards working with women and finding a way to get women engaged with their money, to relate to money in a way that the industry wasn't able to, I started to love what I was doing and I wanted to help everybody. So I was giving, constantly giving to people. And what I realized when I started working with my business coaches, when people get things for free, they don't value it. When people pay, they pay attention. And I was getting more and more frustrated with the women I was working with because they weren't investing into these programs and they were falling off really quickly. So they weren't acting out because they didn't have any skin in the game, too. You need some sort of skin in the game because, giving an example, if I pay my business coach, let's say $5,000-$10,000, do you think I'm going to start implementing the stuff she gives me right away to recoup my money? Oh, yeah. I will. Same thing to people who work with me. I'm like, you're really investing into your own futures because you're putting in money. I know you're going to take what I give you and run with it because you want to more than make up for what you invested. Going back to the game of money, we want a return of your investment and then fold, right? Tenfold, 30-fold, 70-fold, 100-fold of your investment. And it's also my way of making sure I give you the most value possible. So we value each other a lot more when people invest into things and they pay for things. But there are other reasons that people are over generous. It could be that you're a people pleaser or you're seeking approval. It could be that you want to help everyone too. So I'll give you an example. My mom grew up in a household where her mom was verbally abusive to her. She put her down a lot. She called her fat, ugly, stupid. My mom's none of those. She's an incredibly intelligent woman, beautiful. But to this day, she still has those insecurities. And she is always trying to get everybody's approval. She wants to please everybody because she was always trying to please her mom. And in the end, she couldn't please her mom. She couldn't please her mom. So now she wants to please everybody around her. So she'll say yes to everything to the point where she is so exhausted that she's actually enjoying the shutdown because she was so exhausted from her retirement life, from saying yes to everybody. So again, understanding why you are so over generous. What is that deep-rooted belief? Who are you trying to please or help? Will really, again, that superposition state, put a pause before you say yes to everything, too. And again, boundaries. I keep telling my mom, like, you need some boundaries. She'll get calls she's part of this garden club. She'll get calls on a Saturday, Sunday night at 8 o'clock. I'm like, you can't take those calls. You need a boundary. You need a hard boundary. Garden club is only for the weekdays, not the weekends. That's my time. Okay. So remember the dollar we put down for Cheap Chip? The dollar amount for your hour? I want you to double it. I want you to double it. Just do it. Just double it for me. And then I want you to double it again. It's probably more in the realm of what you're worth. But I'm not telling you that this is what you're going to charge people. Or this is what you have to quit your job today to go find a job for this dollar amount. Or leave your job now for retirement, Kathy. What I'm telling you is, I want this number. I want you to say it to yourself enough times that when it does come time for you to sell to a client or go for a promotion or a new job, that dollar is so ingrained in you and you believe it and you're so secure and confident around it that any other number is like laughing at. I want you to have that type of confidence and conviction. Okay. So when it helps with distractions, oh, maybe I'll go take this job or that job. Or I have one woman and she's in retirement, but she wants to consult and she got offered. I mean, she got offered a bunch of different jobs. Having this value amount really helped to weed through all the offers and get to the one that is going to work for her, not just in the short term, but over the long haul, the best. Okay. So it helps with the distractions. It helps keep you focused on the direction you want to go with your work, with your pay, with your value, and to say no to things that aren't going to serve you. I saw Tom Hanks get interviewed a few months ago, and they asked what was his biggest career move, right? What was the biggest movie that he did that set his career up? And what he said shocked me. He explained that it isn't the movies that he picked, it's the movies he said no to that ended up making his career. And I think that is an amazing thing to remember. Right? We don't have to say yes to everything. That we're not going to miss out if we say no to a few things. And people aren't going to be hurt if we say no to helping them. They aren't. That's a conversation that we're having in our own minds. Oh, we're going to hurt this person's feelings if we say no to helping them. That's not the case. In fact, we have no idea what they're going to tell themselves. So we can't get worried on it if we have no control over it. I know that's easier said than done. That's why I'm working with my therapist, because I'm over generous. Okay. Money type 4, and Kimberly, this was your tied second. Delusional Dan. It's like these women are going to climb this mountain no top. That's how I view delusional Dan. I'm going to go climb Mount Everest, and I've never climbed before. Delusional Dan, big dreamer, loves to think I'm going to be on Shark Tank one day. I'm going to be a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. I'm going to have all these, a house on the beach. I'm going to do this. I'm going to grow my business. I'm thinking of you, Kimberly. I'm going to have coaches below me. I'm going to have this whole empire and stuff. And it's great. And it's really important to be a delusional Dan, especially if you own your own business, right? In some way, entrepreneurs have to have some of this in them. Or like you, Allie Blair, if you want to get your career to a certain level, you have to have a little delusional in you. You have to be a little crazy, a little risk taker for it. But there's almost two different delusional Dans. There's the Dans that are all talk, and you can all probably think of somebody in your world who is all talk. I'm going to invent this. I'm going to do that. And a year later, you ask them about it, and there's been no movement on it. And then there's the Dans that what they say, they make happen. And it's the people who have a plan behind it. Okay, so delusional Dans, you need to have a plan. And it can't just be, I'm going to grow my business from $10,000 to $1 million. That's not a plan. I'm going to grow my business from 10,000 to 20,000 by doing X, Y, and Z. Then I'm going to go from 20 to 50,000 by doing X, Y, Z plus A, B, C, D, whatever, right? It's getting yourself from A to Z, but knowing A to B to C to D, all the little pieces. So for Dans, it's the most important to have a plan and to chunk it down into small pieces. so it's not overwhelming. Another thing I've learned with delusional Dans is sometimes what you say you want isn't exactly what you want. I have a woman, she was in our first retirement club. She left the corporate world to become a baker, loves baking, delicious. She would bring cookies to every club event. It was amazing. She goes, I want to open a bakery one day. I said, okay, Joanne, why don't you work in some bakeries, learn the logistics of it, learn the environment, how the whole business operates. So she did. And every year we would meet and we would go through her plan on how she's going to open up her bakery, what money she's going to use, how much to put into it. And after a few years, I asked Joanne, do you really want to open this bakery? Because we've done all the planning. It says you're fine to do it, but you still don't want to, you're still not acting on it. And it took her a while to realize after I asked her that hard question, she really doesn't want to open a bakery. It sounded great. It sounded like the natural next move for her. But here's the thing, bakery hours are horrible. She's up at 3, 4 a.m. They work really late getting ready for the next day. You work crazy on holidays. And it's a physical demand on your body. You're standing all day long, moving nonstop, and she has arthritis in her knees. So it wasn't just that she didn't want to do it, like her body couldn't handle that type of job anymore. So it wasn't that she didn't want to act on it, it just wasn't exactly what she wanted. And I've noticed that with my own work. Sometimes I think a certain way, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. And something happened, I'm not acting on it, or things aren't falling into place right. And then I realized that's actually not what I want. And there's a reason I wasn't acting on it. And I just need to pivot it or redirect it, adjust it. Okay. Another thing with delusional Dans is accountability. And this will be for Money Top 5 too. Accountability. So having somebody to help navigate those, just like Joanne had with me, understanding, is this what I really want to do? Or are there going to be adjustments along the way? And 100% of the time, there's going to be adjustments along the way. You almost guarantee it too. And to surround yourself in the right environment is really important for Dans. Having people who have been where you want to be or going where you want to be is crucial. Having that community of support is why my club is all for women near in retirement, because they're on the same path. They can relate with one another. They can bounce ideas and questions off each other. They're surrounded with their peers. Same thing with the Money Empire program, having women who are striving for wealth, still accumulating, wanting to earn 6 figures or earning 6 figures. Surround yourself in the right community of support, and accountability is key for Dans. Okay. And getting very clear on what are the goals that you want and what are just the fluffy, nice things that you see other people having that you thought you wanted, but you probably don't want in the end. The last one, avoider owl. Sorry, everybody, you can hear my daughter right now. Avoider owl has a blindfold on for a reason, because they like to avoid things. Or oblivious Oscar. I call them too. Times like now, the markets are down and people are, I'm not going to look. I'm just not going to look. I'm going to wait and see. Usually what happens with avoider owl is there's a reason we're avoiding. There's a pain point, right? There's a fear, or right, we never like to look when we're in pain, right? My daughter has a boo-boo on her hand. She had one earlier this week, and whenever I try to look at it, she goes, no, don't look. It's a boo-boo. Don't look at it, mommy. Same thing with our money. You're like, it's icky. I don't want to look at it right now. And we almost view it as it's too painful to look. It's easier not to deal with it now. Like the woman I was talking about who went through the bad divorce and was spending a lot of her money, she was also an avoider owl. She didn't like to look at the credit card debt she accumulated because it was more painful to deal with it than to avoid it, even though avoiding it was only making it a lot worse, right? Credit card interest rates are very, very high. It's only making it a lot worse. So understanding and being very clear on, why are you scared to look? Why aren't you looking? Is it a fear? Is it, even if you say you're indifferent, that's kind of a fear too, because you're like, I don't really care what happens. Whenever people say that, right, they definitely care. There's definitely something rooting them to that behavior. Okay. Is it because you're not where you want to be? Okay. So I want you to write down now, if you can think of when, even if you aren't, this isn't your primary money type, when are the times that you avoid looking? Is it because you feel guilty you spent money on something? Is it because you aren't where you want to be? Whether your career, your business, your savings. I remember one woman asking me, how do I compare to other women my age close to retirement? I said, well, I was about to explain to her, everyone's relative to their lifestyle, what they're spending and stuff. And before I even answered, she goes, hold on. It doesn't matter how I compare because they're not going to live my retirement and I'm not going to live their retirement. She's like, I'm not going to be able to use their money at some point. They're not going to be able to use my money at some point. I'm like, exactly. Okay. And the most important thing for owls are to address it, to just rip the Band-Aid off and look at it. And that's why I have everyone write down what's their current income sales, what are their goals. And I know one woman who was in our Money Empire program last year in the fall, she was, why do I hate looking at my income and expenses every month? And I kind of was like, well, are you avoiding it for a certain reason? Is it causing you pain? Are you frustrated? Because I'm so frustrated when I look at it because it's not where I want it to be. So she avoided it every month. But avoiding it wasn't helping her take it seriously. It wasn't helping her be intentional with her money and making it a serious business that can operate. And for her, that was really important because she wanted a divorce and her husband was a breadwinner and she was scared of going back, because we all hear stories, him dragging her through court multiple times about alimony and child support payments. She wanted to be self-sufficient on her own. Was she going to get self-sufficient if she always avoided it? No, she wasn't. So for her, and what we do with Money Type 5 for owls are, again, we chunk down your steps into such. Yes? Kathy?
Yes?
Did you have a question?
No. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I heard something. Okay. But we chunked them down into such small steps for her. We had to make it fun, like a game. We had to give her incentives, and accountability was key. And that's why we have, in my Money Empire program, we have weekly accountability checks to make sure that you are moving forward, which she needed that more than anything, was just somebody to hold her hand and say, okay, did you just call this number? That's all you had to do is call this one number. All you had to do is talk to your bank. And it was amazing how much she accomplished within those weeks just by checking one thing off a week. Very doable, even for her with having young kids, very doable. And again, making it in a positive note, not getting down on herself, not feeling guilty, ashamed, but really giving her the encouragement she needed to keep pushing her forward. And she liked having one of the other women on the group was one of her very close friends. Having the other people there, like, okay, that's great, you got this done, that's amazing. Having your cheerleaders is really important. And really, it's, for her, we had her set up money dates too, as I'm thinking this. So every week, she picked a day of the week. She picked Sunday nights where she would plan out her week, look at her income, look at her expenses, go through it with her husband if she had to. And also because she was completely in the dark with the family's finances, that's when she had him open up about what's going on with the major finances, not just with her and her business, but with the overall household stuff, so that she could be more educated and informed if she did go through with a divorce down the road and stuff. And having small goals that are going to build your belief to keep moving forward and to keep looking at yourself, right? And I know my business coach always talks about, everyone talks about the mindset. We need to fix our mindset first before we take action. It's actually the opposite. You really should take action first, because once you see a good result, your belief's going to be built right there. If you see one thing of success, oh, okay, I believe now. And the more you take that action, the more results you see, the more success you see, the more your beliefs are going to go. So sometimes it's, for what else? Okay, let's just jump the gun. Let's go. Let's take action. Your beliefs are going to catch up plenty. Okay. Whew. So those are the money types. Does anybody have any questions before we start to wrap up and go over what's next? How has this been so far? Good?
Interesting. Yeah.
Good. It's a very different spin on money, but I think it's one of the most crucial things to identify before you even build a plan, because self-awareness is key. And like I said, every plan's going to be has to be customized to you. So you don't know how you are with money or who you are, you can't make a plan, right? It's kind of like making a plan for a business and you don't have the business yet. Okay, so next steps. Go back through your top 3 money goals. I want you to look at your money goals right now. Take a minute. Look at them. Do you now have at least one thing for each money goal that you can start using? Kind of go through your notes, see, and you can almost write it next to it. Okay, I'm going to create a bucket, a savings bucket for this one, and start putting money in from each paycheck for this one. Oh, I'm trying to think of what your other money goals were. Maybe it's accountability. I'm going to find a community with accountability check-ins, or have somebody hold me accountable. I will warn you, your accountability buddy can never be your best friend's spouse or somebody close to you. It can't. I'll tell you why. If it's somebody close to you, the minute they see you anxious or uncomfortable is the minute they're going to tell you you need to relax. You need to pause on this. They don't want to see us uncomfortable. But we always have to be uncomfortable if we want to move anywhere in life. We always have to be uncomfortable. And I always say my mom would be a horrible accountability buddy, because she always tells me, you need to work less. You need to rest more, Jess. Don't worry about work. It'll all work out. You know, take some time away from it. Right? She would be horrible. Your accountability buddy needs to be somebody who wants what you want, is striving for what you want. Okay? Now take a second with your goals, and I want you to think about what would it cost you emotionally, financially, whatever, if you don't hit them. If you don't have the money for that new house, if you don't have the money to be able to leave a job you hate, whether it's for retirement, you, Kathy, or for a new job, a better job, maybe a better job with less pay. Okay, what would it cost you? What would it feel like if you couldn't hit them? Okay, this is to light a fire under your ass. And to remember when you feel stuck, or if you feel like you don't have what I'm trying to say, right? When times get a little stressed or tough, because I just gave you all new habits and behaviors and systems to implement. What happens whenever we have something new that we're trying out? Our body tries to reject it because it's something new. Right? And like I said, it takes 63 days to make that habit take that behavior into a habit second nature, right? Just a way of us living. And in the beginning, this is what I find, even for my own life. Like, we'll take right now this shutdown. I have 2 kids under 2.5 at home with me and my husband while we try to work full time. At first, it was new, and we kind of had our adrenaline going for us. Okay, we can get through this. It's a few weeks, we can get through this. And now we're like, wow, it's going to be like this for a while still, because daycares aren't opening for any time soon. It's going to be like this for a while. Our adrenaline, and then we took a hit and we started melting down, right? What's going to keep us going is us constantly alternately leaning on each other basically for support, because it's a huge change. It's a new change in our behaviors, our mindset, our mentality, in addition to having a baby too. So that was a new change as well. It's the same reason that all my programs are set up the way they are, time length and community wise, because you're gung-ho, you have your excitement, your adrenaline, you're going to leave this call, I'm going to implement everything right away, this is going to be fantastic. And then you might be tired, you might get exhausted because you're constantly trying to reroute yourself with your money and keep yourself on the path with the boundaries. So it might work in the beginning, but the last thing I want is for people to then fall off, because they do work and I want you to have the results. That's exactly why I have all of my programs be a certain length of time. It's not a one and done thing with our money, right? It's not a one and done thing with our health. I'm not going to go to the gym one day and think everything's going to be great. I met with a fitness trainer, I'm good. Same thing with our money. Okay. And then write down, how committed are you to them? And this kind of goes back to the delusional Dan piece too, is keeping us in check. Is this something I still really want? Am I committed to this? Maybe I'm committed to it, but the time's not right at this moment. If that's the case, what has to happen for it to become the right moment too? Do certain things need to be set up for it? Okay? Takeaway. So I want you to write down, what are 2 or 3 things you will start doing immediately from this call? Okay, what are 2 or 3 things? I'll give everybody a minute as we wrap this up. Okay, 2 or 3 things. And hopefully you wrote down scheduling our follow-up call. Don't forget about that. That could be an easy one. Because I want to talk with all of you guys one-on-one over the next few days, as soon as we can. Okay. Does everybody have 2 or 3 things that they're going to start doing right away? Awesome. I want you to think about, what do you need going forward? Do you need more information on our Stable Saver method? Do you need to understand investments more? Do you need to start tracking your expenses or your income? Do you need to hold yourself accountable? And like, what's going to really help you? What do you need? So that on our call, I can meet you where you're at and understand exactly where you are, what you're thinking, what your mindset. And I'm not even going to talk about our programs. I know Wilza and Kathy, you already are in our programs. And so, but I'm not going to talk about them today. If you want to talk about them, we can do them on the call together. But the biggest thing is, if you aren't ready to work with me or whoever, anything, is giving yourself a time frame. If this doesn't work in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I'm going to get myself help, right? Give yourself a time frame and hold yourself accountable to it. That's the best thing you can do for yourself, is really, I'm going to try what she gave me, and then I'll try something else, or I'm ready to jump all in. It's just holding yourself accountable to whatever decision you make in the time frame you give yourself. Okay? Okay. And my goal for you is to breathe, especially during times like this. But just thinking about even what you said, Allie, about having options and freedom. That's really having that breathing room with your money to be able to focus your attention more on your family at times, focus your attention more on a career opportunity at times. Finding that breathing room in your money, in your cash flow, your day-to-day expenses and income, with your assets, to be able to have options and freedom. It's all about the breath, really, what we can find and stuff. And especially times like this, I think we all need to remember we need to breathe. We need to be able to, when we can pause and take a breath, we can then realize we have options out there. But when we're all tight and wound up with our money, with it, whatever it is, we feel like we have no options. This is our only path forward. But the minute we sit down, we take a breath first, and we can look, we can guarantee we can find you 3, 4, 5 options right off the bat. Always knowing that you have options when it comes to your money. Okay. So as I always say, procrastination never gets you what you want. This is the link so you can get on my calendar so we can book 15 minutes. I have time, yeah, tomorrow afternoon. Or if not tomorrow afternoon, next week would be great. So just go to my calendar, book 15 minutes. Hopefully, yeah, Thursday or Tuesday next week would be awesome. The quicker, the better. And really, it's about upgrading. To upgrade our money, we need to be intentional, right? We need to be intentional with our time, our focus, who we surround ourselves with, and exactly what we do with the money that we do have coming into our world, into our lives. Okay? All right. Anybody have anything, any questions or anything they want to share? No? Was this helpful? Was this good? Okay, awesome.
It was, yes.
Oh, good. I'm glad. All right. So make sure that I'll reach out to, I'll share this recording. Kathy, did you have something to say?
No, I was just thinking at this time with this COVID-19, these talks help, you know.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah. The more I find, the more we do these type of things, the more we feel we have control over things. We feel like we're so out of control right now.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. So I'll send out an email with the recording of this for everybody and also that link too. All right. Stay healthy and well, ladies.
Thank you very much.
It was nice spending time
Thanks.
with everybody.
Thanks. Bye.